Okay, right on. Hello, everybody. This is another Monday night Eden open mic and shooting the breeze like any Monday. And we've got John Williamson and Matthew Darwin on. And John was asking about Bullish, and I was just mentioning that. So, John, to answer your question, when Bullish would get released, it'll be after the demos are done. So they're currently in the second demo, unless it just ended. I can't remember now. They did 3 2-week demo round, like fake money rounds. So, did you hear about those?
Yeah, where sort of users sort of compete against each other, and whoever makes the most money gets a prize, don't they, of real US dollars?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think I'm checking now. I'm logging back in here. I'm pretty sure we're in the second week. Sorry, the second. Oh wait, no, here it is. Okay, so game 2 ended. I didn't win. I tried to straight liquidity pool, but it didn't really show me any money. It didn't show me my gains. I don't know. I mean, I don't think playing in the liquidity pool option is the best way to try to compete in this prize. So yeah, it says here. So we'll be back soon. They're in between now. So the game 2 just finished. Game 3 will start 9 in the morning GMT tomorrow, August 31st, and will run until September 13th. After that, I'm assuming it's going to go live. Sure, I don't know when, but it'd be after that anyway. So soon. Classic EOS response. Soon.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll see advertising like we've never seen before.
Did you get your YubiKey from them, or how did you log in to your Bullish account?
I did get 2, but I actually just used my cell phone. So
Oh
cell phone, I could use the WebAuth. Is it WebAuthn that uses your
yeah,
fingerprint?
yeah, WebAuthn.
Yeah, so I just did that. Although I did also get accidentally 2 YubiKeys. I didn't try to scam them, but I ordered one and then it didn't look like it worked. So then I did another. Or yeah, I don't know. It got messed up, and then he said it didn't have my cell phone number, so I replied, and I think that's what kind of screwed it up. But anyway, I got 2, so it worked out.
Sweet.
Yeah. Trying to get eosrate.io. I don't know if you've seen that tool yet.
EOS what, sorry?
eosrate.io. EOS Costa Rica built it, and it's like you log in with a EOS account, and then you can rate block producers based on 5 metrics of sorts.
Oh yeah. Just loading it up now.
Yeah, well, it's what I'm going to use for the proxy. So the Eden members proxy, this is the tool that I will use to quantify the subjective views of the Eden members. So they put a filter now. So any Eden member, you can go on this, John, and you can rate your favorite BPs based on, you can even rate the ones you don't like, but it's a bit, like you got to go through each one, so it's a touch time consuming, but anyway, ideally you pick at least your favorites and you rank them based on these 5 metrics, 1 to 10, score to 1 to 10. And then you can filter all the Eden members who've done this particular rating system, and then I can use that just for Eden members to then pick the top BPs for the proxy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pure subjective measurement. Like I'm not even bothering right now with any sort of objective KPI. I'm just going to do strictly subjective, see how it goes. If the proxy picks up and has a ton of votes, then maybe I'd be more meticulous about it, but for now I'm just going to do it the easy way. So I will be sharing it in Telegram, Twitter, Eden members chat starting later this week to get people to start rating, and then I can very shortly start the proxy with some actual ratings in place. And then I'm going to scale it. Did I tell you what Dan said about that? Have we talked about that before? Yeah, in the Fireside chat about 7 weeks ago now, after we had after the second trial election, Dan had that. He did a YouTube video with myself and the three others who made it to the final round. I mean, Josh and Felix. And then, so Dan chatted with us about our projects. And when I told him about mine, he said you should, instead of giving each Eden member an equal weighted vote in this EOS rate tool, instead you should give sort of like an exponential multiple weighting for each member that moves up within an election. So for example, I'm thinking like if you participate in an election, that shows you care a little more. So I give you like a double weighting. So just for all those that participate, your scores on EOS rate are worth twice as much, have twice as much impact as someone who didn't even participate. And then if you move up to the next round, you'd have 4 times as much. In the next round, 16 times as much maybe if it's purely quadratic. And then the winner would have like a 64 multiple, or depending how many steps, they could have a big multiple on their perspective on what BPs should be in the top 30. So this kind of interesting way to do it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like that idea. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially because people aren't gonna be updating their vote as quickly. Like a BP might do something, and then they're not going to update their vote for another 6 months or whatever because they just don't look at it that attentively. But again, if it's someone that's elected, that's where it's their job to actually pay attention. Then again, they'll be a bit more quicker in response. Should be good.
Yeah, exactly. There's it'd be interesting what comes out of this Eden election. Aaron from Greymass had a really neat idea it was last week's open mic, in fact, call. He was talking about that there's a need. So basically the question was, okay, the foundation gives you money, or Eden or Pomelo. So say you're a recipient of money, of funding, community funding, and then it's this question of transparency. So Aaron raised the point that it's one thing to show transparency. So the example was from the foundation, and he was saying it's one thing for the foundation to show exactly where EOS is going from their treasury. Like you'd have a memo, or they'd have a website, or they do a frequent post, or however they choose to do it. It's one thing to just be transparent on that respect, but it's another thing to go one level down, and then whomever the recipient is, what are they doing with the funds, and how transparent is that? So who's following up with the recipients to see how they've done? Are they keeping up with what they said they do? What were their benchmarks? What's their roadmap? Just all that kind of thing, because that wouldn't necessarily be implicit or expected from the foundation itself. Kinda, you know what I mean? Like it was a good point.
Yeah.
So his idea was that there's potentially a need for a service because you could ask each recipient to be transparent, but then it's like, okay, say there's 20 recipients, and they're each individually going to do their own thing, and it becomes very hard then for an average community member to reconcile all these recipients and how well they're doing. So there'd be a need perhaps to have like a centralized location or a person who goes to each of these recipients and says, hey, I will be your transparency service provider of sorts, and here's the list of things that you could. So this is kind of what I'm thinking I might be able to do, is like a part-time deal, keep in touch with all these recipients, and if they so choose, they don't have to, but if they want, they could then use me as a service to create a centralized window into who each of the recipients are and then what they're doing, and have monthly updates. I could do videos about it. I don't know, it was a neat idea anyway.
Yeah, well, again, yeah. So just to recap, basically, Steelman, what you said. So again, there's transparency from the people that are providing the money, and then when the money is provided to the DAP or whatever, then again, how can we see transparency from them, what they're actually doing with the money that they've received. And then the idea of Eden getting involved with that perhaps then, and because what if you could sort of get the we don't call them the Satoshi, what do we call them, the CEO, or what's the name of the Satoshi now?
Chief delegate. Or no, they're all chief delegate. I don't think that the winner now has a name. It's never been replaced. I retired it. Well, I didn't retire it. I was super successful. We weren't going to use it anymore, so I did that joking video about retiring it. But yeah, I don't know what it is now.
Um, so let's call him Supreme Leader.
Supreme Leader.
Yeah. So the Supreme Leader, and then the people below him again. Possibly they could do like a monthly check-in call because it'd be good to have like a few guys checking on there. So again, you've got the leader, but then again, you've got like a tech, maybe the second level includes a tech person. So then so it'd be sort of like an interview essentially, and be like, so what have you done this month? What have you achieved? What challenges did you face? Blah blah blah, or
Yeah.
something like that. And then and that lets the community so they on behalf of the community sort of ask questions and get the feedback that they want, and then provide any input that they might have, perhaps, and then if they're satisfied or whatever, then again they press a green button, and then that release the next block of funding, but perhaps if funding was staggered. It depends on how the funding model is done. But again, there was the idea of monthly things where it's you get to each milestone. So it depends how sort of police that is. But yeah,
It's what maybe I don't know. I like the idea of just showing what's happening, but actually having ability to push a button that could restrict someone from getting funds. That sounds like a bylaw that I don't know if I want to have that responsibility. Because what if you just misunderstood? It's kind of subjective. And what if the reasons why someone didn't get something done are because it was a legit problem?
yeah. Again, I think that I think we could trust your judgment in that. But again, in the case where
If you're the
they
Satoshi,
but if in the case where they've just taken the money and run, or again, there's a sort of the conscious thing about it, because when you've been given all the money up front to do something, your brain just doesn't have that amount of stress in it, kind of thing. Where if you're dependent on the sort of monthly, the rewards, it gives you sort of lights that fire under your ass.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to lose it. But if you got 6 months to do it and you got 6 months of money right there, why wouldn't you procrastinate? Why wouldn't you go?
Well, that's just it, though. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
in the Eden example, I think even though you may procrastinate, as long as someone is checking, it's like that trust but verify. If someone's verifying, that should be enough to light a fire, I would think, if you're actually committed. Because what will happen is the person who is verifying, if they're trusted and they indicate that you're not getting shit done, then people who are paying attention will know this, and you're likely not going to do very well in the next election. So figure that, even though you may not be like rug pulling and just walking away with the funds, just the fact you're not being that effective, and then that becomes known, that will be enough, I think, to stop you from winning future elections. Hopefully, if it's well known.
So future elections or future funding for projects?
Elections, I would think, in the Eden context, because you may choose different projects, but if the person deems to be not trustworthy because they received funding once and they didn't do a good job with it, I wouldn't trust them again unless they.
Wait, are we talking funding to give out, or funding that's received to actually make the project kind of thing? Like,
yeah, like in an Eden election, people are going to move up into positions where they're delegated funds. So regardless of what they like, so for example, like when I did it with John, right, the first time, I wasn't doing the work, John was. So I was delegating the funds, but I wasn't really doing the work. So if John didn't get the job done, it's a question of, would that look badly on me also? So then would I then not do as well in a future election because I was given funds once and I didn't deliver, even though it wasn't my project per se? I think it would. I'd be like, obviously, Chris, you couldn't project manage as well, and you even though it wasn't you, you still said you were going to do something. But it depends on the judges, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, but there was what's old love's name? The who was that chick that bloody had that blood testing machine? She scammed the whole world. Theranos. Yeah, Theranos. Like I wouldn't give you shit if you invested Eden money into Theranos.
Right.
I wouldn't hold it against you.
Nuance. There's lots of nuance there, right? Exactly. A lot of nuance. And especially compared to like where if it was your project and that was your thing that you did and then you scammed. Okay, well, you're likely not going to do well in future life. But I think that whole thing, the reputational damage and the trust of Eden, it's all about communication. Because if there's not enough noise being made about what people are doing, like for example, a great example, this last second trial election, has anybody heard anything from the people who won 10 EOS only and what they're doing with it?
No. Well, I
I,
haven't
I
anyway.
haven't really. I'm gonna follow up on people. I'm gonna call some out. I think that's one of the things I want to do before the next election. And it's like, here's your chance. By the way, you were in an election. You moved up a little bit. You received funding. This is a chance to. What did you do? It's not too late to like do something useful and then talk about it, so you can earn trust and reputation for the next election or the first official in this case.
I bought Pomelo NFTs. That was my thing.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know. Just kidding.
It could be though. I mean, it supports the community. That goes the
It does.
buying, right? Those you guys are doing a lot of great stuff with that, and that goes towards. I think all the funds raised were going towards the crowd matching part of that, right?
Yeah, it's all going to the first round of Pomelo matching. So
So that wouldn't be a bad use. I'm worried that a lot of people just haven't done anything, and so that's worse. It would have been cool if a few of them got together and like amalgamated and turned it into, a little more EOS to actually do something. But yeah, so that's coming.
did anybody watch the Dan interview on the weekend?
I did today. I finished it. It's pretty good.
So any
What-
new info? Any insights?
Did you not watch it?
I did watch it.
I found personally, I really liked what he was saying. About Eden, the foundation, where he expects it to go. It was refreshing actually. It was much better than just that blog post. What about you? What did you think?
Well, I have some questions about it as usual, but I guess he spent a lot of time talking about Eden, so
Yeah.
which is I think everybody on this call is probably already familiar with that part, so I don't think we really learned too much new there. At least that was my impression. But I did find it interesting, the background on the Block One VC funding. So I thought that was interesting context that I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there are definitely more info there. Yeah, all in all, I thought it was a pretty good interview. Would have been nice to be a fly on the wall in some of those early conversations when B1 was doing what they were doing and making the decisions they made. Did you ever try to get funding or anything, Matthew? Have you had much experience with Block One?
Well, ES Nation got funding from Block One to build Pomelo, so there's that.
Right. So you were somewhat involved in the process.
I was not involved in the process.
Okay, that's what I mean. I'm curious, how is it as sticky as I've heard? Sticky,
very-
I mean,
It is very
diligent.
sticky. Anything with Block One seems to be very, yeah. As Dan outlined, it costs $100,000 to vet a group to make sure that they're worthy of giving $100,000 to.
Yeah.
To me, that feels as an accurate statement based on what I saw.
Yeah. Let's do more hackathons. Just give it to. What I don't understand about that though is like you get groups like Everything EOS, say Zach Gall, and all the work he did. Why would they not, even though he may not be generating revenue, a couple $100K towards somebody like that to create content and to do media? That may not return dollars and cents, but it certainly helps the EOS overall ecosystem, which they own EOS. So surely that would still kind of return. So
Did Zach apply for funding to do that? I don't know.
I don't know. Probably. I've never asked him, but I can imagine. I imagine he did. I know a few people who have, and they said they ran into walls. Different stuff, but yeah, I'm not sure with Zach. I never asked him if he himself or Crypto Raider. Like I think those guys applied for stuff, but I'm not sure. Be worth asking. Yeah. Even still, like, do they need to? Like, couldn't you just? Surely it's fairly obvious. Like you could just be Block One and be like, hey, you guys are doing great work. We're looking for people to give money to because we can't find anyone. And it's so much due diligence checking. So, but we know you're doing great work because we can see it. So here's a grant. I mean, they could have done that a couple times, and it would have made very non-consequential dents in their war chest.
They could have, but they didn't. So
But they didn't. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's the problem. But anyway, it
at
is what it
least
is.
we're building a platform now to distribute funds from the community. So
Yep, that's something good. Absolutely, completely agree. Hey, Eddie.
It's a, they
Hello.
could have just hired them at B1 and not have to deal with all the legal. Not that they wanted to, but there were ways, and they didn't. Whatever.
Yep, it's true, right? So then, like you say, whatever. Like we can bitch all we want. It doesn't change. It doesn't change anything. Obviously, it just makes us angry. So we're better off just not being angry, looking forward, being optimistic, and maybe holding out hope they'll just still do something really good for the community that is not obvious yet, because they have done some stuff. Certainly, like Matthew pointed out, they did fund the building of Pomelo, so that's good.
And also crypto writer.
Crypto writer.
Yeah, crypto writer, Cheney Moore, Sean Ballant.
They got funded?
They have received something from Block One in the past for their crypto writer thing. Yeah.
Oh, good. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, I have interviewed Cheney Moore and he confirmed that into the interview. So it's all in YouTube. You can watch again. Block One gave funds to some entities into the EOS ecosystem, into the EOS.io EOS ecosystem.
Yeah.
So they did
There you go.
something. Yeah. But Zagol, he never received something. So he stayed last year, 14 December last year. I do a lot of Everything EOS show, the longer podcast, and I have always doing that on my own, and so I have to continue or not, and now he continues. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not over. Like that's the whole thing. Like this is a long game.
Yeah.
And those who are here are still here. So can't be that bad.
No, that interview was very great. That interview by Bywire News, this YouTube channel about 480 subscribers. Very nice interview, and he spoke about it in a different time into the interview. Very well placed, and he stated what he say into this Medium article that he hoped that Yves Larose with the EOS Foundation will lead the BPs, and also as a CEO of the BPs, because he knows very well the BPs, that's a part, and also that he wants that Eden benefit of that also. So
Yeah, yeah, he was consistent, no doubt.
Yeah, and he looks very how did you say, hands-free since he left Block One. When he spoke in this interview, he was very free to speak, and he speak exactly what the things are, and that was very honest. I think that was no acting. That's not the I would say the trademark of Dan. He was very more than ever free to speak.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Yeah. And it was consistent. I like the fact that what he was saying, it elaborated on his article, and it was in line. Like he was pretty.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I liked. It was interesting what he said about the why Eve was selected, like why Eve, and he's like, well, block producers picked him, which makes sense. So yeah. Moving forward, progress on the EOS blockchain. Never a dull moment. Hey John, I like. I don't know if you're listening, John, but I like the ad you've got running on the EOS Power Up site. It's pretty slick. If you guys haven't seen it yet.
Hello.
Yep, our first sponsor of EOS Power Up, EOS Starter.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. It looks good. I checked on it I think it just went live today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Good use.
Yeah, and also it's also there's a little message included in every power up on chain if you're looking like in a block explorer.
I saw that. That's pretty funny. Which is clever. I mean, that's smart of you to do that, because then, yeah, like that's so you pay to advertise. This is what you get. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm also
received
gonna
the
include 'em in,
offer of you, John, about the advertisement on eospowerup.io, and I was very interested. But I have to wait for the good momentum before to go in that. But for sure, that's a good service. That's a very nice service. Yeah.
I think you'll get lots of people, especially your timing's excellent, because it becomes like there's more projects, obviously, so there'll be some funding and there'll be some people looking for places to.
Yeah, for the
share.
EOSBs, for example, we spoke about that with Jesse Jaffe. Yeah, about the EOSBs, this bees workforce that we have now for the marketing, and we spoke about to do some banner, some. And I forwarded the offer of eospowerup.io because it's a good place also to be, because you have about 100 people per day, John, I think, on eospowerup.io, or what is the amount of people going on?
I'm seeing around like 500 hits a day.
Oh, 500, sorry, 500, yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's good, yeah.
Excellent, actually. Might be the busiest site in EOS.
We can promote a lot of things there, and
Probably that would be Nudex or DeFi Box, but yeah, hopefully I'm up there.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, okay. I only use their app on my phone. I don't think of it as a site. In Token Pocket, anyway.
I was hearing you, Chris, before you said that I have take my note. You say Remas has stated last week that the foundation, EOS Foundation, when they give you money funding, we need transparency, how to follow the given funds and have they are used, service monitoring by Gremas, maybe, how to follow that the funds that we receive into the recipients are really used or not used, or
Yeah, no, that summary isn't quite it. Like Aaron wasn't making any claims about what Greymass would or wouldn't do or anything like that. It wasn't about that. He was just making the general statement that in terms of transparency, as far as transparency goes, it's one thing to be transparent about funds going from the foundation to a recipient. There's that. That's important. He was pointing out that would also be useful, and he wasn't suggesting that he wasn't making any claims, because he was making claims earlier that, he doesn't really know a lot, even though he's one of the advisors on that board for the foundation. He's like, he's not fully, there's not a lot of information yet for him, so he wasn't fully aware of exactly how it was going to go and all the details. But he was just saying that transparency from the foundation to recipient, that's good, but there also should be a consideration of the recipient being transparent with what they do with the funds. And are they meeting their benchmarks and milestones, and what's their roadmap look like? So it's like two levels of right? That, because that's not as clear, and that may not be necessarily incumbent upon the foundation to go down that road. Like it's a bit of a gray area. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like we should formalize that whole process of having like checks and balances. So like you should never give all the money, especially once you have these big budgets, directly to the team that's spending it, unless except in like special cases. But from the majority of cases, it should go into a multi-sig of people who can hold them accountable, and then we can use the forums and they can post like a blog post, an update, maybe twice a month, and be like, here's our latest updates, and here's our request for this, the next 20% of funds from what's in escrow. And then the people that are on the MSIG that check the progress, they could take like 5% of the total funds among themselves for the time, You could totally like formalize that. And then when you're voting for someone and they could say like, the money's not going to go straight to me, it's going to go into this escrow, you have more confidence that the money's not going to be wasted. So it should, as a candidate, it should help improve your chances of getting votes if you were to participate in something like that.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's part of your pitch as a candidate. You're saying, okay, I'm going to use this service that doesn't exist, but assuming it existed, you'd be like, I'm going to use that as my method to receive
Yeah.
funds, which you could be interesting even through Pomelo. That could be something you would advertise that you do, even though it's not an Eden,
Sure.
you could still use an Eden provided function. Yeah. Yeah. It was a neat idea. I was like, yeah, that's a good one. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the next election. So maybe I'll try that.
So the M6 is a part of that to follow how the funds are.
The M6 could, you don't even need that. Like that adds a layer of oversight for sure. But even just to have the spotlight, just to have a centralized place that the community can go to get updates from each of the respective projects that are receiving community funding to do work, just to have that in one spot, I think would be useful. Never mind an MSEG. An MSEG, that would be the problem I have with that potentially is that it becomes subjective, because then it's like whoever's on that MSEG, what if they don't quite understand the nuance of why someone didn't get part of their project done? Like, what if it was something that they just couldn't help? And I'm like, no, I don't believe you. I think you fucked the dog, so I'm not going to give you your money. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to have that type of responsibility. I'd rather just let the community vote in the next election, for example, if it was an Eden thing. But maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, it could be done either way.
The Eden community maybe could use the eosrate.io not only to vote for to select the BPs for the proxy, but they could maybe also use that internally for the project.
It could be a whole new thing that's similar to EOS. I don't think you would want to put it there. But
you said it's very subjective. You say you don't say objective. You say subjective. So
it is what I said. But I just don't think EOS Costa Rica would want to add. They built this rating tool for block producers, and they're gonna it'd just be a different tool. Like what you're saying is possible. It just wouldn't be that. It would be like
I think it's possible, but currently it's more for the proxy. Clear.
But could be there. Yeah. I don't know. We'll find out this week from Dan, like you mentioned, when the next, the timeline for the first official election. So.
This week. Okay. Yeah. He said that in the interview, indeed.
Well, he said it in Telegram last week on Friday.
Also, yeah.
Yeah. He said it's coming out. So.
We don't know if it is middle September or end September. We don't know that exactly.
No, yeah. Well, they still have to test. I haven't heard. It doesn't mean it may have happened, but I didn't see any larger scale trial of the web app. I'm pretty sure they're going to want probably a few dozen people to just make sure it does the breakout rooms properly and you can vote and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's much cleaner, that's for sure. Much cleaner.
Yeah, we have how many members now in Eden? We have 200. No,
John,
I don't think 180, maybe. I was not on Eden EOS portal recently, but there was some induction recently.
Oh yeah, nice. Thanks, John. He just put his marketing sheet up for the EOS Power Up.
The price are
300 plus Telegram users. Awesome.
Yeah, also.
Do you get much use in Discord? Can you tell? Up there. Yeah, that's cool. And good, John. I'm glad if you're still listening, I'm glad that you're doing this to generate some funds for the effort that you've put into making that Power Up tool what it is. So good on you.
Yeah, definitively.
Well deserved.
Yeah, and the service of Amy Hines with the EOS in a box.
Yep.
I was hearing that he is doing now something demo that we can maybe use
Yes,
to test or to
Yeah, I've got an update. We didn't do a board meeting video one this week because our schedules didn't align. So I've got a written one. I'm going to do that for and post this evening still. But
Okay.
basically, the current version of EOS in a box is a big mess of spaghetti code, but working, he said. So now that he's kind of made it happen, he's restarting from scratch, cleaner code this time. We'll have a working alpha version this week, the week we're in currently, and he'll invite us to test it on Jungle 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty awesome. He got it to work. So for those who said it wasn't going to be doable, I think that's encouraging, because there was a few people, smart people, who said that this was a bad idea. So
Has he done like a demo of it working?
I haven't seen it, but he did say it was working. He says
he
current
said
version of
that,
EOS in a
yeah.
box is a big mess of spaghetti code, but working.
Okay, well, that working can mean a lot of things.
John.
He said, yeah, he expects us to be testing it later this week. So by next week, this
Yeah.
time, we'll know if he's been able to make that happen.
Yeah, as always, seeing is believing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the side of the EOS user desk, there is a good propel that's going the right direction there for the portal with course, with how to install, how to use a wallet. 5 minutes to understand how to use a wallet, then different steps how to, and also the intercom user ticket management. We have to indicate our time zone, and we can help the user when they have a problem. That's
Okay.
that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. Josh had an update here too. That it. What did he say about it? EOS support is working on establishing its initial operating budget that can be bundled into a proposal for the EOS Foundation, Enon EOS, and Pomelo, as well as a budget for furthering the development of smart contract gamification that Randall and Dario have envisioned for the platform.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
still working on it.
Yeah, a lot of things going well.
We just need the price to bump like Telos did. Man, those guys.
Telos. With the EVM, that's their selling points now, that they have the EVM deployed into. I saw also Boss. They have the EVM. John. They have the EVM. The Boss score.
Oh, Boss.
Boss.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, they did write an EVM contract, and
voilà.
I heard that their contract is even better than the one Seed wrote, but they turned it in later than Seed, so that's why they didn't win the competition.
Always the same problem, but the technology on Boss is very, very well advanced, very well.
Yeah.
And Telos is about 65. I was reading that the other day. There is not a lot of users there, indeed. It's not like on EOS, indeed.
Telos, I mean, they basically broke Ethereum because their audit was so thorough of the EVM. And it's really kind of sad when you look at all these projects building in the Ethereum space that have, tens of millions of dollars of investment, and they did not find this bug. And it takes, the Telos team. I mean, they have developers that are just basically volunteers. They barely have funds. They're working on a shoestring budget, and they found a bug that was so bad it forked Ethereum. I mean, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. Yeah, it's super wild.
But Telos is an EOS.io network-based chain, like the EOS mainnet is an EOS.io first iteration. So we should have to support all, but sometimes we are also a little bit focused on our things. But no, yeah, I think Telos is going well, also in good direction.
Well, I mean, it's not, I mean, you have to realize it's not because a bunch of Telos whales are buying more Telos. It's because the Ethereum community is paying attention to what they just did.
Voilà.
That's where all that money is coming from.
Mhm.
A few accounts, a few whales,
Yeah.
few Ethereum whales.
I forget sometimes that we have whales, yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, that's why it's, you know, they're getting attention from people outside of the EOS.io space. So like, what is EOS going to do to get that kind of external attention, I guess?
Bullish.
Well, I will ask, have you tested something of Bullish yourself? Have you tested something of Bullish Global?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bullish is pretty good. I'm in the trial.
You were in the leaderboard?
At one point I got to like 40th. That was the highest I got.
Nice.
Okay.
What was your strategy?
Short EOS really hard. It didn't work out.
Didn't work out. It
I
was
shorted
flat this
EOS
last one.
at like I shorted EOS hard at like 360 or something.
So if
like
it
I
went,
margin shorted it.
You would have killed it.
Oh, I will be very bad on that. Yeah. I have not received my YubiKey for the moment. I don't know where is my YubiKey.
It's shipping a long way to get to you.
It's
Maybe in
well,
the
it's funny
water.
because like I have a margin long position on EOS, like for real, but I have a margin short in Bullish, so I win either way.
There you go. The beauty of margin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one more 2-week
Something-
period. And did they have an actual launch date? Was that announced or just these tests
For what?
for Bullish to go actually live? Like I know that these
They
were on
said
the-
7 weeks of testing.
yeah. Oh, but
17 September, something
They didn't
like
say
that.
when it would go live. They just said testing, and then they said then we're live, or I can't remember if they committed.
17
I believe
September,
they said it
I
was.
think. Yeah. But not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading 16 or 17 September, but
Yeah, that's when
say
the next.
October, say
That's
October.
the next one will end, right? So this last test round ends around then. So then it's September 13th. September 13th is when.
I mean, yeah,
this
but
next one
like
ends.
Bullish is
Mm.
just, you know, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. Like
No.
it's really not an EOS project.
No.
So
Yeah.
I just
And
don't think it's worth
the
paying
price
attention
will
to.
not explode. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
the price will not explode just after Bullish go live. That will be.
Be nice
Yeah,
to
I
get a
mean, I
little
saw
pump.
people were like, everyone on Bullish is going to get a free EOS account. I'm like, where did you read that?
No, that's not what it said anymore.
EOS is going to be like BNB. You pay fees with EOS. You know, like, where did you read that? Like, what are people are just making shit up at this point? You know,
It
it's
was-
like,
All wishful thinking.
I mean, yeah, we've seen this for years, this wishful thinking, like making up stories about this and that, like reading between the lines. I mean, it never works out very well. So, you know, we have no control over Bullish. So there's no point us even really talking about it.
Like voice,
Mhm.
we have no control on that. Yeah.
Exactly. You can build some hype if you want to try to pump it a bit and then dump. But
Yeah.
otherwise, whatever. Yeah.
Something I am bullish now, it's the Algo Trader in Switzerland. They are building on EOS mainnet directly, and they have an Oracle. They have built Oracle control the price. You are in a smart contract and you need an oracle. You can use the algo trader directly on EOS mainnet. That's very
Huh.
cool.
That's cool.
And it is funded by EOS VC.
Oh yeah.
Algo Trader in Switzerland is funded by a part of EOS VC and CV Labs, Crypto Valley Labs in Switzerland. They have received some funds by a digital, what's the name of for the Europe EOS VC? It's digital something, I don't remember, GmbH. That's the name of the VC company.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's not for us. We are in the tech. We want to create something. If the price goes up, that will be the fruits of all what we are doing. But
Yeah.
so marketing is the point. I think now we are in a phase where we have to do good marketing, not only tweets with nice and retweet the tweets, but doing something smart with the tweets, become more smart with the tweets that we have never made before. So on this stuff, we are into the EOSBs. Yeah, this is growing, and the number of people going in this Telegram group now, it's like the bullish group. That will become, I think, a good group. The EOSBs there.
Yep. Yeah,
I try to figure out where the marketing could be published, and PowerUp.io, nice one, and other platform to publish content. I was thinking about Creator Now, Felix Ruiz, but Felix Ruiz now is what is the status now exactly?
Felix got a new job. He also got COVID. So he's getting over it, but it's kicking his butt a bit, he said. And then he went and actually met with some of those Creator Now people in person. And so he talked to Eric. I don't know who this guy is at all, like this Eric dude. I don't know who either, but he said he did talk to him, and he paid. What did he do? He recorded a transaction. He paid to get into season 3 with EOS, I guess, and they did a video of setting Eric up or somebody there up with an EOS account, and that'll be content. So he's still working with them, like he's still following the same thing. It didn't quite go how he had initially had hoped, but he's still attempting to make it work and get some promotion out of there.
Yeah, and the EOSBs now with the content marketing, that's a good workforce, the EOSBs. You have to go in it.
I'm there. Yeah, I'm in it now.
You are in, Chris. I saw you.
Well, no, I'm not. I didn't actually sign up to be a worker bee or whatever, but no, I'm in the Telegram group.
You can be a scout.
I could. I could. I don't really. I'll just tweet your guys' shit. And
I know you have already a lot of things to do. Yeah.
So I did. Yeah, I just figured I could. Whatever. I won't worry about that.
But for me, that was totally logical to go in that.
It's good. I hope
now we are 10 worker bees, and there is, I think, one scout or two scouts. No, very interesting. The system. It is pyramidal, the structure, but after to collaborate, it's totally flat, horizontal. I like. It's like Eden. That's a good materialization. The EOSBs of that. That's very nice. Yeah. That's a good chance to be funded. We don't know who will win. That's randomized at the last round. But
no, it won't be. The next election will likely have a lot more funding. Like we kind of know it'll be more than what's been previous, and there'll be funding for a couple rounds, like a couple layers, right? So not just the winner, but the board will still get. Like I was looking again at Dan's, or I guess it was his. I don't remember exactly where it came from, but it was the roadmap for Eden. Let me find it here.
Ah, that would be nice to have that. Yeah.
The roadmap. Here, I will share my screen and show this. How do I show
Mhm.
this without getting myself? There's nothing incriminating here. Oh, maybe kind of incriminating. Hold on. I mean, hide anything that's not necessarily need to be visible. Okay, hold on. Gonna share the screen here. Share screen. No, not that screen. Where's my OneNote? OneNote. There we go. Share that. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so here he says budget allocation. A budget of 1.5 million EOS will be divided among representatives according to the following algorithm. 500,000 EOS given to the top, 500,000 given to the level 2, 500 given to level 3, right? So this was then, it showed 1,000 members. So the numbers aren't going to work out like this, obviously. But if it did, the top person would receive 500,000 EOS. 10 level 2 recipients would get 50,000 EOS each, and 100 level 1 recipients would get 5,000 EOS each. Obviously, we're not using groups of 10 because we realize that's too many, so it would be less people per group, which means likely the board, this level 2, would be smaller. So I think that's why they've also, instead of having just the top 3, they might do the top 4 or even top 5 get funding, so they'll go further down the tree. But bottom line, there'll be that's just 1.5 million EOS. That's the EOS Foundation now has 3.5 million EOS. So say this is, even if it was off by a factor of 1 and they give 150,000 EOS, that'll still make for some reasonable payouts, I think. And how are we for timeline? Q4 2021. Development begins for on-chain smart contracts. So we're way ahead because this has already been done. It's basically what they're doing now. Q1 2022. Yeah, so we're way ahead because the EdenOS contract and interface is nearly ready for this first election. So that's good. So according to this early roadmap, we're doing quite well.
What do you guys think is the most critical thing for Eden to fund?
It's a hard question to answer because do you mean Eden and or Pomelo and or the foundation?
No, I just mean Eden. What's the unique element that Eden is gonna offer that, you know, the foundation couldn't just do directly or Pomelo couldn't handle? Eden, it's kind of in between a pure crowdfunding platform like Pomelo and a more top-down foundation.
Yeah.
Seems to me Eden would be more the infrastructure stuff that has no expectation of returns. You know, that'd be really hard for Yates to justify, you know, stuff going out without direct back. But
Well,
Yes.
that's kind of what the foundation is gonna do, right?
Exactly. Because the problem with infrastructure stuff is that if it's a one-off and you only need to spend money once to make it, okay, that might work for Eden. But if it's something that would require upkeep and some kind of general maintenance, then there's no guarantee there'll be funding after any particular election. That's the downside of Eden trying to do that.
I mean, you know, in the spirit of Eden being more self-funding, you know, maybe Eden should focus on things that support and grow Eden and can bring funding in directly to Eden without any reliance on inflation or the foundation or whatever.
Yep. That'd be a good focus.
I mean, couldn't
So-
Eden direct
It would
towards
just-
back to the foundation and be like, dole this out to this project for the next 2 years? I mean, the funds are coming from that moment in time, so that should be fine.
Yeah.
You're not getting future funds.
What would be the advantage of sending money back to the foundation?
For the long-term projects, that need to go longer than the 6 months of Eden blocks.
That'd be tricky. That'd
Yeah.
be tricky. I don't know. I think and the downside, if you're running an Eden election and you want to build infrastructure, that's I mean, that should be a question you get asked. Are you going to run this even after the funding is out? And I don't know how you'd answer that.
But okay,
Jesse, you got something? I think you were about to say something too, right?
yeah, just
Yeah.
here.
Hey guys,
Hello.
I have a perspective on John's question. I think that we need to grow like the Eden member base. It's just so small right now, and to I mean, obviously I'm biased, but like in the proposal I'm working on, the new members, a certain tier of the new members must be Eden members, and so maybe in the marketing realm, kind of promoting our unique governance style would be maybe the best way to spend funds to just grow our base.
Yeah, but what advantage do we get by more users?
The fee.
We just want to collect a one-time fee by getting more users. Doesn't seem very.
It would be annual dues, but yeah, it's nominal.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
well-
not just any user. You know, a proper marketing and advertising funnel would collect users who are interested in our governance process. It would ideally would be interested users who would potentially contribute.
That's
Contribute
interesting.
what to the governance process?
Participation. And I mean, do you think that an Eden member would be a worthy member just from the base of them having an interest in our governance process?
Sorry, Eden member worthy of.
Would
Doing
you
what?
agree? So, okay, a new Eden member comes in, they pay the fee.
Yeah.
You're concerned that, oh, we're just collecting fees. So would those people that are paying the fee, if they at least had an interest in the way we do governance, would that be enough of a gauge to accept them into Eden?
Yeah, well, again, there's interest in the sort of framework of governing, and then there's interest in what the hell we are governing. That the framework is cool, but I don't see why they would stay unless we figure out what the hell we're actually going to govern. I think, you know, Eden's still yet to sort of set out its actual, you know, mission and what it actually wants to accomplish.
For sure.
You know, so
Kind of
yeah,
like creating the division. Is it the Eden on EOS versus just the Eden process?
yeah, exactly. So again, we could, you know, polish off the Eden process, and you know, you could do cool stuff like, you know, do a bloody YouTube guide on how to, you know, do an Eden election with nothing but a deck of playing cards, you know, as Dan Larimer talks in the book, you know, kind of thing. It, you know, depends on what you want to, you know, sell and what you want to, you know, push. But again, I don't think we can really push Eden until we actually make an example of, you know, Eden actually working, and we can do that by, you know, running Eden on EOS, you know, successfully. But at the same time, we can't run Eden and EOS, you know, successfully unless we pinpoint exactly what the hell it is, you know, we're trying to, you know, do, especially when it comes to talking to EOS Foundation and convincing them to, you know, pass funding, which I think they're keen to do. But I think, again, one of the questions is going to be, you know, what exactly, you know, is it that you guys are going to do? And then another question I have is why would people bother sending funds to Eden to distribute when they can make the decision themselves on, you know, Pomelo and stuff like that? Are we really, you know, doing a good selling point? Some of the
Okay. Personally, I would say whoever will give the funds to Eden, the proposal that has the most chance to be elected It's the proposal where you have a good incentivizing mechanism for the Eden members that are already here, and that you have some OGs that are already since the beginning into Eden. They do a good job since 3 years or 2.5 years. And now you have this initiative of Jesse with the EOS bees that I think just a fantastic idea, because whatever will happen, this group of bees, of workers, scouts, we need in all cases, in all cases, because we need people that do a good marketing that they have never done before. And into the EOS bees group that we are now, we have a good advisor for the marketing. We have other OGs like crypto apologist that is joining today. Incredible. So we have I don't want to say an army, but we have a nice bees into that, nice people, nice human people. And we want to do a great job to strive what? We want to strive EOS and give more attention and do some user storytelling. And that we have to make, if there was not Eden or not, now we have Eden, but if we have not Eden, we have to do that in all cases. So if some entity, I will say entity, some people have the chance to receive, if it is led by an LLC like Jesse, that could maybe phase 1 he take on his own. If he has more funds, we will decentralize, we will do a kind of DAC, and that will work like that. Because if you go into this hidden election and each one say, I want to do YouTube video, I want to do marketing, and if we are more federated like now in EOS bees, we have a chance to be very well represented.
Yeah, for sure. And there's many projects like that, whether it's Pomelo or Eden or the foundation, it's relevant. But I think our challenge is to find a project that is completely unique to Eden. What could we do that Pomelo can't do and EOS Foundation can't do?
Yeah.
Like the marketing stuff, all three is relevant, of course. So
it's relevant.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. Not easy to anticipate what will happen, but
I don't know. I like Chris, that idea that you shared with me a few days ago. I mean, this is super complex, but the ability to get BPs to look at smaller projects and to give some time on smaller projects, perhaps a smaller project can pay the BPs for a certain minutes of time, and that would be a certain cost, and a larger project who needs more time for BP intervention would pay more. Do you guys think that's unique to Eden, that type of thing?
That would be, you would leverage the trust within Eden. Like, so if Eden is a trust engine, which I think we could all relatively argue that it is, then there's. But
so is EOS Foundation though, right?
No. You think EOS Foundation is a trust engine?
Well, we're all trusting. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah.
Well, you're right. We're trusting, but it's not an engine that spits out trust as an outcome.
Well, we don't, right.
The Eden election, the process is like a trust engine because, and welcome Vu Nguyen. I don't pronounce your last name, but welcome for joining us. If you want to say anything, please, by all means, you can chat or just jump in the conversation. It's always good to see a new face. But like the Eden process is a trust engine of sorts, right? I mean, bias, of course. I've done well both times. I think I'm trustworthy, so of course I'm going to say that. But generally, I think as far as reputation goes, and once you've maybe done something in the community to lose trust, and it's well enough known, you're not going to do well likely in a future election. So if you want to leverage that trust, if you want to leverage this community of trust who work their way up, and there's this trusted people that are even it's different people every election, but they're still trustworthy, then yeah, you could create those governance as a service things, and that you're referencing that post I did. Yeah, that would kind of make sense. But in terms of this BP intervention and reduction of God powers and all of that, that is that's a tricky one, because that opens up a whole can of worms. And even if you petitioned on an Eden election to promote that idea, how do you promote it? Like, what do? Do you just talk to the BPs and hope they'll give in to this? Because you need code changes for that. You would have to have buy-in from a lot of third party,
Yeah.
not stakeholders.
I don't think that's a good idea. Like, to take away God powers from BPs, I feel like when I read your post, Chris, and you sent me that other one that suggested to remove God powers from BPs, I was thinking, we don't even need to do that. Like, just take your thing and just asking the BPs, like paying them to, that's much simpler and I think more realistic.
I totally agree with you. That's why I wrote that way. Yeah, it was the least invasive. It doesn't change. There's no code requirements, in fact, required at all for that, other than maybe a button that you could toggle as adapt and say, I like to opt into the service, and then you could see which BPs are also willing to offer it. So they'd have a bit you could see, and then you could see, okay, which BPs are offering this service, which aren't. Let's not vote for the ones that aren't offering it. I'd like, but then again, whales are the whales, and are they going to really care? I don't know necessarily that they are going to care necessarily, but I'm with you. It'd be nice to see.
Yeah, perhaps Eden is uniquely positioned to go to the BPs and get them to agree that, if someone pays them, then they got to look at their shit.
Yeah, but you said it right there. Eden could go to the BPs. Who is Eden, right? So that's always been the problem with Eden thus far. Is it hasn't been official. So even though I've won, whatever, even I didn't win the money the second time, but symbolically. So say I won twice, I'm probably the closest thing to, other than Dan, of course, right? So, and what power did I really have? None. I mean, it was unofficial. That was made clear multiple times by multiple people, and I agree, and myself, it was unofficial. So what if
No, but it's whoever that's promoting that idea and who wants to do it and wins the election to do so, that person should be trustworthy, and the BP should listen to that person because they did win in Eden.
Yeah,
it should be the person who's promoting the idea.
I'm not sure if it's realistic to think that Eden can talk to BPs. I think if we wanted to send a message, it would have to go through EOS Foundation before BPs would really listen, like the whale BPs kind of thing. I think EOS Foundation is it yeah, or even Dan, Dan's philosophy, but again, he's not, I don't think he's got, relationships with the Chinese, BPs and, getting all that done, Eve can kind of thing. So if there were a message to be sent, I think it would have to be, and I really don't think, any statement or any wish that we have for the BPs, if Eve isn't behind it and the EOS Foundation isn't behind it, that we have any chance of it getting executed. So anything that we did want would have to be sort of have EOS Foundation's approval first before we'd even bother taking it to the BPs. Because if Eve says no to the BPs, I don't like this idea, I seriously doubt they're going to go, nah, well, screw you, EOS Foundation, we trust Eden, and we're going to do it anyway, kind of thing. I don't think that's realistic.
But in the core, there is not only Eve. In the core of the EOS Foundation, there are some people, and then there is the board, and the board will give the advising to the core. So if we have to speak with someone into the EOS Foundation, we should speak with the board and give the idea to pitch to the core. They will pitch then to the core.
I thought it was the core. Yeah, it's the core that's driving the car. It's just the council that's sort of advised, but the core can still overrule if they want to. So
you'd go to the Eve, Zach, and Defang if you want to get things done. But regardless, I don't think for this particular official election, I'm not sure. To go back to the original question, what do we want to see? I think we'd like to see things that have been around a long time that haven't gotten funding, that deserve funding, and are represented by Eden members. And there's marketing. We could have multiple, even though Zach is going to do great marketing with the foundation, that doesn't mean that Jesse the Bees shouldn't get also funding. Like, we can hit it from multiple angles, and there might be like maybe Felix is going to do more content that he's got that he thinks will do well. There could be a few ways to go about it. Hopefully it's not like you're saying though, Patrick, everybody gets up there and like, I want to do YouTube videos, fund me. Oh, okay.
What you say? I have not understood, sorry.
You mentioned the point that we don't want to get a whole bunch of people running in an Eden election that just say they want to do marketing because they want to do YouTube videos.
No, it's not sufficient.
Right?
It's not sufficient.
That wouldn't be
You
efficient.
need to have different strings, yeah, into your offer. If you can do something education and at the same time something platform development linked with the education to Strivios, you win. So I think into the EOSBs, there are a lot of chance that we see that. And if it is not the EOSBs, that could be someone that is elected and that will promote also the EOSBs. That's good. So
I think would be cool is like account creation, right? Like John, like for example,
to see
your site. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good, Patrick. I'm excited too about the bees for sure. But I think, John, it'd be neat. I don't know if you've considered adding an account creation aspect to your EOS Power Up site, because I don't know if that's
Yeah,
doable, how much
we
work it would be.
totally, me and Max Infeld, who's also a Eden member, we mapped out a whole plan for like an account creation platform.
That's perfect for Eden funding, because I think Eden still needs to stick with its focus. Eden on EOS it needs to stick with the focus of it being on EOS. So even though Eden, like, there's other talk, what about creating in this Eden org that is outside of Eden on EOS that just promotes the ideas from Dan's book? Needs to be done, has to happen. I don't think Eden on EOS is the place to go for funding for it, because it's not about EOS, and I think we need to be focused on EOS. But that's just my opinion, and in the end, it'll come down to the voters, right? If someone has a compelling idea and people want to vote for them, then all good. It doesn't have to be EOS, I suppose, but my perspective is it should be.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
We are both members of Eden, but also members of Eden on EOS, but also fans of, Eden. And so again, the idea of, more equal animals is sort of spreading the idea of, how we can reapproach democracy and build a better world. So for us to say that's not our job, then who else, whose job is it?
No, I think it's our job. I just don't think it's Eden on EOS's job to fund it. I don't think we should be taking EOS inflation to fund that. I don't think it's the right use of funds.
It's,
okay, well, if it's
exactly, it's a source of funds. It's a source of funds is the problem.
Then who's going to fund it then?
I don't know. It's up to us to figure out.
If we want to adopt the framework, but then we can't even be bothered about promoting the framework and funding the framework, then
that's not true. It's not that we can't be bothered. It's just it doesn't seem like it's an appropriate use of community funds. Personally, I mean, I'm doing arguably as much as anybody on this to push it with the readings and stuff, right? I still don't think it's a good use of funds to use Eden on EOS for that, because it's not on EOS. It's Eden, and even then, it should have a different name. I don't even think Eden's the right name for it. It's too associated with the Bible. But that's a side topic. So, I mean, that'll probably happen. If Dan, he'd be a good guy to fund that thing. It's his baby. He should maybe fund it. Or maybe enough of us get together and we could put it on Pomelo, and then you could just vote. And even though it's not an EOS thing, it's still a community. There's enough people who'd be willing to donate to it. That's different. But I don't think using Eden on EOS funds. I think we want to build the EOS ecosystem. So any sort of DApp that wants to increase users, say even if maybe Eden on EOS, the outside Eden group encouraged EOS accounts and said, hey, we're going to like push this process. It's the Eden process. And we're going to make sure that every person we push it to has to use the Eden web app. Okay, I suppose that's one way to kind of make it about EOS, sort of. So yeah, I suppose there's a way around it. And again, it's just up to the opinions of the people who are voting. If you're like, yeah, we're going to increase EOS accounts, then I guess that's a good use.
But outside of the fund, outside of the funds, I know that the funds is something very interesting. We have to know how it will be, from where that will come, but there could be many ways. But indeed, if you are into Eden now since May, June, okay, you are in Eden. now you think, okay, I am in Eden, I have my membership, I am in, so how I can contribute to that? And now by going into this proposal with the EOSBs, for example, you are already vouched on into Eden. We know that the people are trusted already because they have going inducted. You see the intent. Now, if they are doing something, you will see the delivery. And after that, you can say, okay, we have a good trust layer on top of EOS that is now made Eden on EOS. We have a good trust layer of workers, of good people, and they will transact better and they will go independent to have their freedom. That's all about what Dan is saying into more equal animals. You have to be independent to have your freedom and also to transact with EOS. Because as a currency, EOS with $1 with the currency, if you want to transact with EOS, you have to be trusted, you have to be going through the fractal governance, reach consensus. And when you have reached consensus, at this moment, these human people can collaborate between them. That's the beauty. So
Yeah,
it's unique.
awesome.
It's unique. It's unique. I would
Very
say.
unique. It's very unique. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Eddie, what were you going to say?
Why you say that?
Just that I think Eden is definitely trying to promote DAC tools, you know, and multi-sigs, and there's a lot of EOS in there. I don't see funding Eden. Yeah, no.
You don't think
I think
you don't
it advertises
think it should.
EOS quite a bit. I don't think it's a conflict there.
Oh, you think it would be okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much promoting EOS tools.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I'm not sure.
More to come.
If it was like an outside org that's trying to push the process to like high school, picking your high school president or picking your mayor in a municipality, are they really going to use EOS for that? Or are they going to use the deck of cards simple method?
They should be.
Yeah, but they're not going to know the deck of cards simple method unless Eden's done. And again, it's a two-way thing because again they learn about Eden and they go, where's Eden actually practiced, and then we can point to Eden on EOS, and then again people find Eden on EOS and they think, oh, this is a cool idea. Where else can it be applied? Then again, we refer back to Eden. So it's sort of
maybe
that's more realistic.
We could fork the web app. Because I think you'd want to obfuscate the fact that it's on a blockchain. Like that part to me isn't even necessary. Like it confuses things. So maybe you get people to have an EOS account, but they don't even realize it's an EOS account necessarily. Or you make it really basic and you don't scare them away.
Well, yeah, there's Eden, the framework, and then there's Eden OS, which is like the software, which is again the the kind of blockchain aspect on it. And then there's Eden on EOS, which uses Eden OS to administer a blockchain. So there are
two people that don't understand that there is Eden OS, the operating system, and the Eden on EOS. That's two things totally different. So with Eden OS you can do different things with Eden, not only for EOS, but voila, that could be used in many ways. So not only deck of cards, I prefer to use the blockchain. Okay, but like you said, Chris,
I agree with John.
I say it's unique. I repeat, it's unique, but it's like I am a jerk to say that it is unique. That seems that I am totally naive to say that it is unique. For me, it's unique. It's not only about the funds. Voilà. So one more time. If we do beautiful things, we will receive the funds. So we have to have a good proposal, push this proposal to the next level, and do what we have to do. And we will receive the funds if we are doing something great for the ecosystem. So it's too early to think from where the funds will come, if it is generated by the inflation or not the inflation. I think it's a waste of time to think about that now because we have not yet pushed a proposal. So we are into this process now. We are working, we are doing a good proposal, and we will see.
Alright, so if the funding is coming from EOS Inflation, EOS Foundation, basically the EOS community in general, probably the best thing that Eden could fund would be something that would make that crowd happy to do it again in the future, right? So funding public goods is probably easy. Funding, you know, like Chris was saying, like a account creation portal. And that kind of stuff is not that hard, right? It's not that hard to build, and it's very user facing, like anyone can log in and use it. Whereas like there's some low level technical development stuff that needs to happen, but it's just more difficult to get people excited about that, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the decision makers at EOS Foundation would understand, you know, if we did a lot of work on low level tech stuff.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider.
You're right though. What's the likelihood of a low level tech idea doing well in an Eden election when you're paired up against? Because you figure you're convincing the people in your random room that your idea is a good one, and if you get it's because it's not so flashy, maybe it'd have a hard time.
I mean, just thinking like if we have $1 million to distribute, there's only so many little micro apps we can build. You know, we actually need to hire and do some really low level, really hardcore work on some stuff with that money.
Yeah, but I agree with Chris. Is, you know, if you're talking to a random 5 people, how do you convince somebody that you need to spend $200,000 updating Node.js or a system contract thing or whatever? It's really obscure. Nobody can understand how that works.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why informing people and having a platform early and making sure that people understand what's going on, so you don't have to try and explain it to them during your 1 hour time with them, right?
Yeah.
But
I think you also need other people to weigh in and say, yes, we think this is a good idea, right? So it's not just you trying to convince 5 people.
Yeah.
Because there's also,
with that said, I would love to hear what you think, Matthew, Darwin from EOS Nation running Defuse, what you think is like the most important things that need to be funded behind the scenes, because a lot of people don't understand that you guys are basically have built your own little supercomputer to run Defuse back there.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a big supercomputer, really. So it keeps expanding. But you know, I guess there's 2 things that's in the list of technical things. Is one is, you know, aligning the various different history solutions into something that's generally agreed, because we have multiple, which are all good. They all have their pluses, but you know, trying to make a general history set of solutions is hard, and it requires a lot of work. So I think there's a lot of technical discussions that could go there, because if we can align on how that kind of works, that will, you know, means people don't have to pick, well, is it going to run on Hyperion, or is it going to run on GrayMass, or is it going to run, you know, whatever, right? So you can maybe a whole bunch of discussions there. That's all very highly technical. The other thing that if you look at all the GitHub issues that I opened against the Block One repo, it's all about things that make it easy for block producers to administer the blockchain. So it's monitoring, it's, you know, where did my transaction go? Well, we have no way of really giving a good story for users for that. Or, you know, whose accounts are subjectively billed, or, you know, how many transactions per second are we getting through that aren't queued up and that are expiring or whatever. So there's a lot of insight that is on the blockchain or around the technology, which is not visible. So I have, as I said, if you look at all the things that I open for Block One, it's all around that stuff.
I have a question for Matthew. I have a question for you, Matthew. Let's say you want to create a service, a platform, something very focused, very perimeter, very well defined. It's just you need the funds to do exactly that. You will go with Pomelo.
I could go with Pomelo, but I would run into the
Or
same
something
problem.
very specific, very niche, that it's a service that you want to do one time. It's not a long-term thing. You need just the funds to do that. You go with, for example, with Pomelo for that. And for a project that needs a long-term vision, something very unique for the ecosystem EOS, you go with Eden, for example. And for something very mindset
There's no
entrepreneurial,
rules.
you go
I
with
think
EOS
it's-
Starter.
You could do all of them. I don't think you'd have to be. There's no mutually
but
exclusive best
You have
option.
EOS.
Right?
No,
Pomelo,
you have EOS.
the
No,
challenge
sorry,
with Pomelo.
you have EOS Starter.
Oh, go ahead, Patrick.
You
Tell
are
us
in
more.
with Fernan. EOS Starter is more for entrepreneurs that want to do a kind of platform with staking mechanism. You will go with EOS Starter for that.
No, maybe I'll go with Pomelo. Why couldn't I, Patrick? If I'm making something that lots of people are going to like, I could do Pomelo. I could also use Eden. I could even go after the foundation if I so felt
So
like
we can use all this
course.
ecosystem for
Why
our
wouldn't you?
project.
Yeah, sure.
of
Why
course.
wouldn't you? You'd be
Why-
silly
why
to
not?
pigeonhole yourself into one. I think what Matthew just brought up, though, the history solution, to me, that sounds like something that would be difficult to arrive at the right solution from an Eden election, because you're going to have, it's sort of that rational ignorance. You're not going to have enough people who are material experts to really pick the best option. So that type of thing, again, it's kind of what John was saying too, Boyd, about just infrastructure stuff. I think the foundation, you didn't say this bit, but I think the foundation makes more sense to focus on that type of thing, because then they could get the right people in the room to actually hash out what is the best solution, and then they fund it more, which is what it sounds like they're doing. They did mention consensus style of managing and doing infrastructure. So hopefully that's the path they take, and then they can, because you do want centralized direction on that. As opposed
Absolutely.
to
You need some coordinated effort on it. And, so Block One announced this or re-announced the ES enhancement request proposal, or EEP thing, right? So, but that needs a whole community of people around it to drive the direction. Anybody can open a GitHub issue and say, okay, well, I propose to do this. Great. But what's the direction to actually go drive that and agree that that's what we need to do from an entire community perspective? That these are big, complicated, tough discussions, and a 1 hour Eden election is not going to get where you need to go on these highly technical topics.
not a chance. And even if you wouldn't have the right people to even choose, it'd be like me, I'd be there. I wouldn't know what you were talking about. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds awesome, Matthew. Okay. I wouldn't know if it was awesome or not. It would just sound good probably. And I'd be like, yeah, okay. But if I had you and Aaron both talking about two different solutions and I had to pick, I wouldn't want to have to make that call. I wouldn't know enough.
Exactly.
I recognize I don't know what I don't know. So I'd rather you get a group of people who actually know what they're doing to make that decision, not a random Eden election.
Yeah, and this is really not about picking one winner or one loser or whatever. It's about how do we collectively work together to build a better thing than any of the things we have today, right? But it's a very technical topic. So it needs, one of those Costa Rica or events where everybody gets in a room for a week and then hash out, what is the direction, and then people can go off and work towards that direction. But this is
yeah, for sure. That's why I kind of mentioned in the Eden members chat that I was kind of hoping that the foundation would sort of indicate what they're going to fund and where they're going to go in terms of this infrastructure stuff in advance of the first official Eden election. So then at least people would have, okay, well, let's not work on that because at least we know the foundation has it covered. And then look, Eve sort of had it the other way around in his response, where he wanted Eden to make the moves. So I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. But hopefully some of this more infrastructure related stuff doesn't fall to Eden, because I don't think it's their best avenue to resolve them, as we've all just talked about.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly with which ecosystem we have to go, with Pomelo or with EOS Starter or with Eden. It's not clear because all is open. So what is the goal of each one? We have to understand what is the goal of Pomelo, what is the goal of EOS Starter, what is the goal of Eden. Otherwise, you don't know in what you want to go. You don't know.
But I think if we look at Eden, right, it's about getting a whole bunch of people interested in your project. So, or Pomelo, or what did I say?
Pomelo.
Eden, I meant Pomelo.
You meant Pomelo. Yeah, exactly.
I meant Pomelo, right?
Yeah,
Pomelo is
yeah.
about getting a ton of people interested in your project. So
Yeah.
funding a technical discussion on how we should drive the code base is not the right, Pomelo is not the right platform for that, right? So, but hey, we want to build an application that does this kind of thing. Okay, you might get 1,000 people interested in your thing, right? Just like Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, I see that like that, Pomelo. You have 1 million of people, unique people, quadratic funding that are voting for your project. Yeah, because you have something.
That's the
Or
key,
you have a
right?
person. Like what you could do is have a figurehead who is well known and well liked by many people, and they say, "Hey, there's this infrastructure project," and they become the way to sort of get multiple users excited, even though it's not necessarily an exciting thing. If you still had somebody or a group of people who could push it and say, "Look, everybody, we should all give 10 EOS to this because this is really important and it's boring as all hell, but it's awesome." And if you had enough people, then maybe you could still make it work.
Yeah. And that's what the thinking about that for the people that are watching, because they are figuring out what is the difference. So us, we are in, but for some people joining, they don't understand where they have to go. So now it's clear.
If I had a project and I needed money, I would go to any place I could that might give me money.
So as the money now.
I do Eden, do Pomelo, do the. I mean, why would you wouldn't exclude yourself from an opportunity? You just give it a shot. Unless there's a cost to apply.
We are also discussing to give our own money to make marketing now. That's beautiful.
Yeah, like in Jesse, like for the bees, like for example, like I think that would be a good Pomelo project because you're already engaging a lot of people, you're doing a lot of outreach, so that alone would facilitate people's encouragement. The downside of Pomelo, of course, is people have to give their own money to support it, as opposed to Eden, where people don't have to give anything other than their time if you're a member to vote. So there's a nuance.
Time is money, time is not free.
Exact.
Time is scarce.
Yeah, but going back to what we were originally talking about in terms of what can Eden do that's unique. I believe John was saying this, and I do agree that the Eden framework should be advertised and marketed with EOS inflation because we're using it to bring people into Eden on EOS. That would be my justification for it. And that is just a unique offer.
Selling point.
Yeah, it's a unique selling point from Eden. And I think that's certainly on the table that counts as something unique.
Yeah, that's why I say before, that's very unique that we are doing now with Eden. That's something very unique. And
yeah, so for example, my cousin plays this game called Civ 5, and they have a rule. So it's this whole thing. They have this whole like economy with governance, and Eden's rule that you have someone that proposes a law, and then the next person has to ratify it, the next leader. Well, they have the same rule in Civ 5.
Did he explain how that works? Did he explain to you how that works? Because I mean, Civ 5 is like a turn-based strategy game. I don't know. I don't get how that, because I played Civ 5. I don't remember that rule. I'm going to try to figure out where that comes from. Did he explain it at all?
No, maybe it wasn't. I think there's multiple Civs. Perhaps it wasn't 5, but I am digging when I find the time. I do want to because they have a forum that I'm going to go into, and I want to find out exactly how that works. But just in terms of this example, it's not really relevant. It's something like, if something like that were to exist, like that's something that we can go into and pull potentially a lot of new members that are interested and relevant.
Yeah, a kind of filtering the interest.
It's what it's all about.
Voilà. Yeah, a kind of filtering the pre-interest before to be in, indeed. Officially in, or that's what you say?
Yeah, and they would theoretically want to learn about EOS. Like,
First.
we're doing this very unique
Mhm.
governance process on EOS. Okay, what is EOS? And we
Yeah.
kind of get them with the bug. Get them with the
Totally.
EOS bug. And then they would
Totally.
would idealistically want to contribute to the elections and vote on, like we all do, vote on proposals that we think are going to be best for EOS.
So then we better have an easy onboarding mechanism for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy
That's
onboarding.
probably, yes, that comes before this for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this first Eden election needs to just focus on the basics. Nothing too outlandish, nothing too crazy. Let's just build some basic stuff, user onboarding, yeah, infrastructure,
Yeah.
but I guess that's probably more a foundation thing. But maybe a couple apps or dApps, whatever, can get built. Okay, sure. But hopefully, well, we'll see, right? It's up to the user base. It's up
Sorry,
to the-
what is a EOS Foundation thing you say?
more infrastructure. They would, I mean, they've already
Yeah,
indicated
yeah,
that
yeah,
they're going to
okay.
do more of that, right? But
Yeah, sure,
yeah,
sure.
so we'll see. I mean, bottom line, it's up to the members themselves to come forward with proposals. I'm very curious
Okay.
in this whole thing to see what type of proposals the people we've never seen in any of the trial elections, who are Eden members, like some of the Genesis people who've we don't hear anything from them. Are they going to show up with a proposal? I think that'll be interesting.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement, like something like
We're on-
marketing, like bees, user onboarding.
Yeah.
Maybe infrastructure.
Well,
if the
actually,
foundation,
Sorry,
good enough.
EOS support is the project that's going to be onboarding. We're going to work together. The bees are going to bring them people to onboard. So just want to
Yeah.
put that little caveat there.
Mhm.
Okay, how does that work?
We are working together. We're actually trying to brainstorm ideas of how, so they have a system to onboard. I don't know how public that is. I did have a private meeting with them. In terms of how it works for them, I'm not going to say, but we talked about, okay, if the bees bring EOS support, a potential new EOS member, how are we going to track whether that member comes from the bees? So one idea was, well, if we purchase the .bees premium name, they can track it that way. But that's something that we're still brainstorming.
Name service, EOS Nation, EOS name service, sorry, EOS name service. You think about that, yeah?
Well, no. Well, the .bees would be, you'd have to win it by auction.
Oh, yeah.
But
But
Is this-
how would your EOSIO support, how would that help with onboarding?
they have an onboarding process. They have a,
What is that?
I'm going to just speak very generally here. They have a ticketing system. They have an automated ticketing system, and they have people like Data Junkie and Drill Sergeant Zeus that will get people, like, hold their hand to get them EOS accounts.
Yeah.
They close a ticket, and then the smart contract pays them for closing a ticket.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I think that sounds good as a fallback, for people who run into some problem, but we can't be manually onboarding every new user, right? We need something totally automated.
No, you need to do something on your site to make it automated. EOS Power Up needs to have some sort of button, some sort of way to create accounts right there, I think. Because they're not mutually exclusive. You're right.
Yeah.
Because what these guys are trying to do is like to support people who are having issues, not the one stop, go here if you want to have an EOS account.
Yeah, those are two different things, right?
Yeah, so the idea that we mapped out, which I actually don't think it's that much work to build, is the idea that you can prepay for an account and you get like a link, and then you can share that link with someone, and that allows them to pick their name and create an account without paying anything because it was already prepaid by whoever generated the link for them.
Wait, but prepaid in what currency?
Just EOS at first, but yeah, maybe we could support other tokens.
How are they
in the
gonna
future.
prepay in EOS when they don't have an EOS account?
Well,
What,
someone
through
would
Coinbase?
pay for them. So you or Data Junkie or whoever that wants to onboard new EOS people, you would deposit, 5, 10 EOS or whatever, and you would get links to generate, 20 EOS accounts, for example. You'd have
okay.
like 20 different links. And then you could send those links, you could share them on social media, and then the person would open the link and it would walk them through like how to set up Anchor or whatever wallet we want to support, pick a name and generate the account
Wombat,
without any
right?
kind of,
Not bad.
or Wombat or whatever.
Like Meet1 was doing in the past. Meet1 wallet, the Meet1,
Right.
Meet.1 wallet, yeah. There was generating in advance some codes that you can
Yeah.
use after to create your EOS account.
Yeah, the red
We-
packet.
What we really need is a Wax Cloud wallet. We need an EOS Cloud wallet. Custodial wallet.
That's a lot more work. That's a lot more work. I agree. We do need like a cloud wallet. You have a lot of cloud wallets in Ethereum. Solana, Terra has one. I mean, we should have one on EOS, but that's a lot of work.
And
How much funding
would
John, how much funding would you need to do that, or a team would need to do that?
To do it right, probably like the minimum would be like 100,000.
100,000 EOS or dollars?
$100,000.
$100,000.
I would vote
It's
for
like
that.
2
number one.
developers plus maybe an audit.
Well,
mean,
isn't EOS
minimum.
Nation coming out with EOS Nation login then, though? Like, you might be able to lean on that.
What is that? Never heard of that.
Well, the EOS Nation login is just a regular web login. It has nothing to do with EOS.
Yeah, but they'll have you know, the ability to sort of log in, sort of further validate your account with, social media, and then that can prove, uniqueness. And then again, if we have some sort of integration between that and whatever, account creation service that there is, then again, if we're confident that the account is unique, then again, we just buy, finish off the account.
Maybe. I mean, probably Pomelo. Hopefully Pomelo would have an API, and then you could build a service where like as long as someone has like a Pomelo permissions or above a certain level, then they can generate 1 free EOS account per day or something like that.
And what about EOSPowerUp.io? That would be possible also to do that?
To do what?
That we can connect to the EOSPowerUp.io API from the user service, for example, of Eden that is building now, and that we can create our EOS account from there.
Hang on, sorry,
yeah.
were you talking about EOS account creation just for EOS or account creation for Eden?
I'm talking about for EOS accounts.
Okay,
For
so
the
it's just,
EOSBs, for example, if we want to have an EOS account into the EOSBs, we need an EOS account. If EOSBs account, but this EOSBs account is indeed an EOS account. So if we want to do that, for example, through an API, you say with Pomelo, or with an API with EOSPowerUp.io, we could do.
okay, well, if the goal is, making account creation easier for the general public, I would say that EOS Foundation have got that on their radar themselves, and we would have little to sort of bring to the table there.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you know that?
I don't know it, but if you know, surely with the money that they've got, it's going to be something that they're considering at least, or something that they can put out their opinion on. Because they know that if sorry.
That, I mean, you shouldn't assume that. I mean, just because you think it's important, it doesn't mean that they're focusing on that at all. I mean, that's totally different from a lot of the stuff that they're actually focusing on, from what I know. It's not that they wouldn't fund that, but they're not going to develop the plan and map it all out and design it.
No, but for something that big, they would have a an opinion on it, or some ideas to go with it. Like out of all the issues that EOS is plagued with, it's pretty much it's definitely on the top 5. And given that we don't even have funding yet.
I mean, account creation is pretty easy. For me, it's a matter of like a private account. It's like I can buy an account with a credit card, but everything, every option I'm seeing, unless I go through a friend, it leaves like a paper trail back to an ID. Like,
yeah, and I think we gotta learn our lesson from block 1. We should not assume anything.
Yeah.
What we think is important, and if someone else is doing it, we could probably collab on it.
Yeah, but block 1, wasn't responsible for actually running the network. EOS Foundation is.
Yeah. And to maintain the EOS software.
Well, EOS Foundation isn't. Block 1 says it is, but I'm not sure how much work they've actually done on it lately either.
So, okay, so let's say Eden will probably try and fund account creation, maybe a web wallet. It sounds like that would be pretty high on the list. Some marketing efforts. What else do you guys think that Eden would fund?
Transparency service.
What is that?
I like transparency service.
Transparency service. It's I think you were listening before. Basically, like pay somebody to be a liaison between projects receiving funding and the community, and a part-time job type thing.
Right.
And they basically would follow up with any fund recipient and try to create an in between.
Yeah. I think that might be less of a service and more of like a job that people just take on. But you could formalize it into a service that like other projects could tie into, but that might be overcomplicating it.
Yeah, it's just something that Eden could fund. Like of all the things that Eden can fund, you could fund somebody to say, hey, this will be a part-time job for me. There's the funds from Eden. Now I will commit X number of hours a week to create some content and try to be this, help promote transparency. Because that's what Eden can do, right? Eden's going to select people. We know that much. So maybe part of what Eden is just select some people to do some jobs. And people say, hey, I want to do this job. It needs to be done. It's not a project. It's not anything per se. It's just me. You're paying for me now. And this is what I can do. Am I worth it? And that's part of your pitch then. It's like a job interview. So that could be a couple of the spots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You wouldn't want to win the sortition round with that. My pay just went up.
I like that. It kind of ties into another thing that I have felt like is lacking, which is basically kind of like a multi-sig as a service for dApps, because a lot of dApps are still running off of like a single admin key. Even like some exchanges are running off of a single admin key. And I had the same problem where Boyd was running off of a single key for like the first year or so, because like I couldn't get anyone else to join me. It's like very complicated to coordinate and reach an agreement. So if there was just like a well-known services where it's like, add your dApp to this 2 of 3 multi-sig, it's way better than just a single key, right?
Oh yeah.
And if you have these kind of trusted custodians, and it's not like the custodians can steal your dApp or anything, but they just have to someone has to talk to them in order for changes to be made. So
That's a great
I feel
idea.
like that would be really valuable.
Creating ECAF as a service almost, but not what ECAF would do,
Yeah.
but similar in
It's more of
concept.
an opt-in instead of
Opt-in.
a system-wide thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good idea too.
Colin told Crypto do a study last year, and he said that the majority of the dApps are just running with an active key, an owner key, single pair, and that's all. And that is subject to hacking for sure, and loss of funds. And you have not to trust a dApp just with one active key and with one owner key. That's not sufficient. So.
Unless the key is backed by hardware wallet, in which case I'd say the owner and active key being the same would be all right.
Oh yeah. But EOS PowerUp.io now is running with one active key and with one owner key.
But how do you
Right,
know it's
that's
not
true.
hardware backed?
Yeah, that's true. Like, EOS PowerUp is still running off of a single key. The difference with the EOS PowerUp is that it is a centralized service anyways. So there's no, it's not like it's a token, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
to me, it's less critical for a central service to be on a multi-sig.
Mhm.
But I agree, it would be nice, like maybe I'll add it to the Boyd multi-sig for the Boyd DAC that we use, because we use that one pretty common and I know all the guys, so it's pretty safe. And
Yeah, Boyd, you
I
have
might
a
do
DAC.
that.
Yeah, so you could use exactly. Yeah. Some people into the
But a
DAC
lot
of Boyd, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of projects, especially like when they're getting started, they don't have the community, they don't have the connections.
Yeah, voila. And it's depending if you are running with a token based or not. Yeah. So yeah.
And
It is
even like I might feel like the Boyd DAC multi-sig is pretty safe, but like a third party looking at the project, they don't know who these people on the multi-sig are, right? So what if I
Yeah.
added a few well-known custodians on there, and they might have like some light veto power on the multi-sig or something, but mostly they're just there to keep an eye on things and add,
Yeah.
and give people a little confidence, right? So
Confidence, yeah. I prefer to go with EOS in a box at the beginning with someone that trusts my keys. After, if I feel me more comfortable, I can always change the permission and I become independent. So, but at the beginning, I can go with Amy Hines, for example. I know that he's trusted because he's in Eden also. So he makes the proof, yeah. Beautiful. So we will have the date this week for the Eden election, maybe.
Mhm. It's coming. We're gonna know soon, and then we'll have to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, a lot of things are going in all the sense.
And then campaigning too, right? Because you're gonna.
Yeah, you are interviewing other BPs. Amsterdam already, Costa Rica, Argentina, for the
I haven't done them yet. No,
MetaMask. That would be
great.
nice to interview with them.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them. I gotta do them. I did Crypto Lions. I gotta get that one out this week.
Crypto Lions, yeah.
That was a good one. But yeah, I figure with the interviews, I'm realizing BPs are busy, so it's just gonna take a while to get through them
Not
all.
easy,
And I'm not spamming them overly aggressive.
No,
either.
that's
I'm just
very
kinda
open
gently.
mic
So
that you
I figure I'll
do.
just do it gradually and just something I'll just keep doing. Just
No,
pick away at
I
it.
love the format. I love the format. It's very quick and straight to the point that I love, and that's nice.
Yeah, not too much fluff. I could ask more questions. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
No,
to
it's
ask.
clear,
These
but
these guys have a lot to say, and there's a lot more. I've been pretty high level on purpose.
yeah.
But yeah, John, you must have a few. Do you have a few ideas for the next election? Are you thinking of going in with like a bunch, or one main project, or how you considering to approach it?
I guess I'm undecided. I guess I just don't know. The only reason that I would run is if I felt like someone else couldn't do a better job than me
like promoting what I want to build. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I see
Um,
that.
Like I'm more interested, like I'd rather just be coding, but like, yeah, I can put on the politician hat and go out there and make some deals and get some funding directly. But like the way that Chris received the funds and then paid
Yeah.
me based on milestones, like I really preferred that. So yeah, I
you
would
you
rather,
work on the task and you are paid for that. That's
So,
nice.
so
yeah.
do you have ideas then that you would like to see built, and then you just gotta go to different people and say, hey, or would you want to
Will
promote
you
my
run for
idea?
this? Yeah, I think I should probably do that. It just, I guess I just like, I guess I just do not have a lot of free time. Like I just, it's
Right.
honestly, and it just feels like such a time sink when I have other commitments and other things
Yeah.
that I'm working on, you know what I mean? It's like even if I got funded to build this thing out, it's like, dude, you don't have time to
You
build
don't have
this
the
thing
time.
out. What are you even running for? You know what I mean? Like
Your
I
eyes
would
are bigger
have
than your
to
stomach,
quit.
kind of thing.
I would basically have to quit one of my, like, you know, a well-paying part-time dev job that I'm working on, right? So it's like, why would I quit something that's very like a comfortable job for something that I don't know if it's going to get funded? I don't, you know, it's very uncertain, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of uncertainty in the EOS community right now. I'm still waiting
Yeah.
for a lot of things to come through that people have been telling me are going to come through, you know? So,
Yeah.
We are
I'm-
in two parallel worlds indeed. We are working the day and dreaming the night. So I am in EOS. I do that with patience, and I have my centralized job. No, not so centralized. I am independent, but not so in the blockchain, because it's scary sometimes when we speak with some customers and you say, I am into the blockchain. They look you sometimes like wondered. So you have to, as say Dan, you have to make the sacrifice to be parallelly in two parallel roads. And yeah, so if you are in EOS, it's because you are passionate. Otherwise, I don't see the point. I don't see the point.
I just want someone to hire me and I'll build stuff. Like that's basically, and basically at this point, the Boyd DAC has hired me to continue working on Boyd. I've
Yeah.
worked part-time on this other project. I've got other projects I'm working on. I'd much rather work on Boyd than work on EOS. You know, so it's hard for me to get really motivated about putting a lot more time and energy, considering all the time and energy I've already put into trying to help EOS. It's kind of like I moved to a new country and set up shop, and then I realized that, like, you know, the public transit is broken down and like there's a lot of corruption in the local government and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I just wanted to smell snow cones.
Yeah, we never know. We
It's all
never know.
bullshit.
Exactly.
No one told me all this.
Don't worry, John. We're gonna get the price up here.
Oh, that's awesome.
If I have the price, I give the money 50-50. No, sorry, I have to think. No, I will give a part to each of you for sure, because my project is linked with all other projects. So it's a knowledge base. So I can interface with any edu platform. So I will use the funds for the bees, for a lot of things. So if I have the funds, clear. I would be a
John,
bastard if I don't do
would
that.
you be saying that if EOS was at $50 right now?
I would be much better off if EOS was at $50. I would be much more comfortable.
The ability to be less beholden upon a general income. All of us own EOS, so yeah, right. It's a fair point. You can, but right now you got to kind of. Until then, you got to follow the money to feed yourself. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes say this week, at the end of this week or next week, we will be $9. Okay, so we will see.
Yeah, I know I'd be a whole lot more comfortable if EOS is $50.
Oh yeah.
Shit, yeah. I mean, I'm not a whale, but invested. and
Yeah, all we need.
I'm an idiot. I've never sold any. I keep buying more.
You do solar panel if you have the money. I think you will do a lot of solar panels.
Oh yeah,
and
well
ele- and
I got
electricity
some at
in
home.
case of the doom. Yeah.
Well, I got those all set up. I don't have to worry about that. I got my panels ready to go. It just more. I just mean like even this, right? Like I'm still volunteering my time here. Like
Yeah.
it would be easier to do it, and it'd be easier if I just didn't have to worry, and I wouldn't if EOS is $50. So I'm with you, Jesse. Come on, make it happen.
So if Jesse win, he
All
will give you
these
something.
projects, they're great, but we need we need a pump. We need some shilling. We need some pumping. We'll get to 50 easy. So hopefully we'll get the chance, Patrick, to do that.
It's possible.
Until we die, for sure.
Yeah, the success of Solana really shows that it's possible for a smart contract chain that's not an EVM based chain to thrive.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like it's not like we need an EVM on EOS to solve all our problems. Like that's not the problem.
No.
Right.
Because it is more a general settlement layer EOS. So you don't need really to be an EVM based blockchain indeed. Because it is a settlement layer for so a lot of things that you don't need really to be EVM based. I don't see really the mandatory to be EVM on this blockchain. But for Telos or for BOSS, other blockchain, that makes sense maybe. I don't know.
Or there's a Cardano. I mean, you don't even need to have smart contracts apparently. Never
Cardano,
mind
they have an
EVM.
eagle on the shoulder.
Exactly.
I don't want to be with them. Sorry.
Insanity.
No, but what you think, John Eater, sorry, about the EVM on EOS mainnet? What will be the benefit to
I
have
think-
that or not?
I mean, I think it would be good to have it as part of a larger plan to, like, if we had a partnership. Okay, so like Aave and like Uniswap, they've deployed instances of their contracts on many EVM chains and layer twos.
Voilà.
So, you know, if we had an EVM and it was part of a program where we were onboarding these other DeFi apps, and they can just copy and paste it on there because that's what they've done with all these other layer 2 chains where they've added their app. And we combine that with a liquidity program like what Avalanche did, where they had like $150 million worth of AVA tokens that they're giving out for liquidity providers on their EVM. You know, so I'm saying it's like, it's not just the technology, but it's also like a big marketing and business development thing that we could do. But I wouldn't hang my hat on that and say like, this is our only shot at being successful. I would say this is a good initiative, you know, as a series of other good initiatives that we should be pursuing.
Because now that we speak, the EVM is for EOS, EOS.io. Is ready, it's working, so it's just about what to deploy.
Okay. So the contract works, but there's a lot of extra infrastructure around that you need in order to actually be usable. Like you need to have a node that talks to the contract and translates the information so that you can use MetaMask, for example. And you need history solutions, you know, block explorers, and you need developer tooling. And this is all the stuff that the Telos team has built out. They built out all that extra stuff so that you can actually use it in production.
And also because they have a lot of influence with Ethereum. Ethereum are going attracting Ethereum to Telos, indeed. Maybe I have not explained well. You have Ethereum that is EVM based. Telos now is EVM based, so they have attracted to them the existing one part of the existing user base on Ethereum to Telos. That's that.
They have attracted interest from the core like there's some account that's like one of the core Ethereum developers that's been buying a lot of Telos, and that's part of the price, I think, moving.
Voilà. Voilà.
So they've definitely attracted attention on the developer side, and they've hinted that they have some partnerships with those existing DeFi apps. But hasn't been any official announcement. But I assume like when they launch, which should happen like probably, I'm gonna guess in the next 2 weeks or so, they should have some big well-known apps running in the EVM from the start, or maybe not even well-known, but at least established on Ethereum already. So it's possible they could attract some good attention very quickly, but from
Okay.
users, not
Okay.
just developers, but we'll see.
Nice for them. Nice for them. Yeah. Okay. We will see. We speak a lot of EOS always, but yeah, because we are in that. Yeah, it's clear. There was not attention by Block.1 on EOS, but that's fair because EOS doesn't belong to Block One. It's belong to the community. So,
I mean, one of the reasons that we have been doing work on Telos is because they have funding. They have funded our work that we've done on Telos. So, and this is something we could never get funded to do work for on EOS because there's no mechanism to make that happen. So, and they also have all this work with the EVM was coordinated by the Telos Foundation. So, I mean, they are showing what happens when you have, a funding mechanism and a foundation, and they've made tons of mistakes. They've made tons of mistakes. There's all kinds of issues with the foundation, with the funding, with the worker proposal system, but like, it doesn't matter because, they're, at least they have positive momentum in the right direction. You know what I mean? So.
I understand well. How many
John,
people
I got
have
a
you?
question.
Sorry. Go.
John, I wanted to ask you, you were saying earlier that you've got a comfortable job or whatever, and you're not sure if you would be willing to, take on a project that you would potentially promote for Eden. And I just wanted to ask, do you know developers that, like, let's say just say, for example, the Cloud Wallet, and you ran for it and everyone wanted it, but you didn't have the time to work on it. Do you know people that you can give that to like hand that off? Or is there just like no really developers in EOSIO or enough developers in EOSIO?
I think if I had if I had like a fair amount of funding, like 100,000, like I was saying before, yeah, I could outsource it. There's other developers that would take that on. A lot of them.
And you trust them to build a good product?
Yeah. There's several of them that are very good, and they are hanging around, but also starting to work on other projects, just like I am. So,
Parallelly.
Well, I would vote for that. If you ran for that you get my vote.
yeah, but that would mean I would have to sit down and design it all out and pitch it and stuff, which is very time consuming.
Would you have to do that if you just said up front, look, I don't have time for this, but I think we really need this. I'm going to give the funds to someone to design. Like, you just have to pitch it, maybe not design it.
I don't think that people would want to fund a project that's not well thought out and designed up front. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, you need a good design, project management. Yeah.
It's crazy
what
for
kind
me
of
to
time is
put
that?
it's crazy for me to put a serious amount of time into it when like we don't even have any idea how much funds Eden is going to have available.
Yeah, I agree.
No, but
I agree
assuming
totally.
we're gonna know, eventually we're gonna know, and you're gonna come to a decision what to do once you know that number. I'm not a developer, but I'm just curious, like, to design something just on paper. I mean, you just mentioned that's a serious amount of time.
Oh yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here? Just to design it on paper.
I mean, to design, like wireframe out how it would work, map out, from a technical perspective, how the back end would fit together. It's probably a week or so of full-time work,
Got it.
40 hours of work.
something like that.
I do the same when I am doing a new program. Since a long time I do. I need a week to do a good design from scratch. So if Jesse, you ask to me to do a program, I will do first a good design specs to have a good concept before to develop. So that's take 40 hours to do that, a good 40 hours, and to be on the same page before to go into the wall, and that you have not make a good specification. So you need that.
Got it.
For any project, there is no little project or big project. There are projects, and you have to analyze. It's not just coding. Coding is the result of the good design. If you do a good design, you develop quietly, and if we are aligned the both, we do a good job for sure. But there is a lot of communication involved there to understand what you want exactly in order to code that accurate. Otherwise, we are developers. We are just developers, not sometimes the business analyst into this stuff here. So you know exactly what you want to develop, what you want to achieve, and us, we have to translate that into the best infrastructure, right. Into the best. I think the developers into EOS.io, there are a bunch of developers that have the capability to do. The problem is the time. The problem is always the same. It's the time. And also, there are
well, with enough money, they'll find the time.
What?
Oh, I just said with enough money, they'll find the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
All right, guys, I'm headed off. Good talking to you. See you next week. Oh, Chris? Is Chris still here?
Right on.
No.
Yeah, man.
I'm
here. What's up?
Hey, what's going on for the next unpacking? You want me or what?
Yeah. You're broke
The
up there, but
unpacking
absolutely.
more equal animals?
Yep. I hear you, man. Yeah, absolutely. Join us again. We're doing chapter, I'm reading it. What's it called? The next one. Whatever the next chapter is. I can't
Chapter
recall.
2.
Yeah. To the 2. Okay.
Chapter 2.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're doing it every week. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah, that's
thanks,
nice.
guys. Have a good night.
Check out on Slack. We'll make sure any update notes there, but same time, same place.
No, because I just remember that you said that you may want to switch some people in and out, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, so far I think John. Well, we had a couple people didn't join. John Williamson, Ami, and who else was going to jump in that we just added? Mark Shear was interested. So, but anyway, we still have lots of room. I don't think there's. I think the conversation went well. We could have had more people. It wouldn't have been so bad to have more. So yeah, no, come again.
What's the day for that? What's the day?
Friday, every Friday. So we'll do
Friday.
10 more.
1300 UTC.
Yeah, I was watching the last time. I was just watching. Yeah. Very
so
interesting.
Do that again. Yeah.
Because myself, I am translating in French now. So.
Oh, nice.
Attention, I have to do some disclaimer before. I am not doing exactly a translation of the entire book. I have, what did you say? I am choosing into each chapter the good elements, the good fruits that are in, and I am creating a mind map with that. And on each branch of the mind map, I am putting the notes, like you do in your what is your tool? Evernote.
OneNote, yeah.
Yeah. So I am doing a kind of mind map, MEA mind map. So
good. Yeah. Well, that sounds like
it'll. I am
it'll
not
overlap.
at the end. It's a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
process.
Well, I can relate. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what we're doing with these.
I don't know why I have accepted to do that. I was motivated to do that, and now I have said to drill to Dario. Yeah, Dario, I am in. So he has interpreted that it is already official, but that's Dario. But no, it's clear. Swiss guys are working a lot. Yeah, you know, like Canadian for sure.
Good. It's the way we get things done.
Ah,
Okay. Well,
bon.
I don't know. Yeah, we've been going to 2.5 hours.
Who is here?
I don't mind.
Mel. Why he say nothing, Mel? He's muted. He don't want to speak. Mel is in the room since the beginning.
It's just paying attention.
Yeah.
I had a quick thought during all this. Like, you know how you've got the EVM, which is like Ethereum in a box. And then you've got the talk of removing the God powers from BPs. What if you could do like a godless box? You know,
Godless
a box that some dApps can go into that BPs just cannot touch. Like, I don't know, random thought.
I don't know.
It'd be nice.
It sounds like you'd have to change the system contract to remove their ability to touch that probably. And I think that would be a very difficult thing to pull off.
Oh yeah.
It'd be pretty attractive for a lot of dApps, so, you know, but then it brings in the whole regulatory issue all the same. So
I don't know if it's a regulate. What do you mean regulatory? Do you just mean like within the rules of EOS?
well, like a bunch of people definitely don't want POs because it can bring like regulatory interest, and you could, you know, EOS could be taken off of exchanges because it's providing this privacy function.
Oh, I see.
It's like, even if there was a godless box with whatever we call it, you're still introducing that regulatory problem all the same.
If it's a privacy thing, yeah. Well, yeah, that sucks. That's one thing I don't like about EOS. It's too transparent.
No. Sorry to say, Chris, you say that already the last time that EOS is too much transparent, but in the EOSIO 2.2 now, there is a privacy functionality where you can hide and decide which people are with you. You can create a privacy network into your solution. I was reading that. I don't know if it. I don't know if it is
just for private chains, though.
John, in EOSIO 2.2 on EOS mainnet now, we can create like a kind of private.
Yeah, that's not for public networks. It's like for an enterprise chain.
Yeah. So you have to not go with EOS if you want to do that. You have to do a private chain indeed.
Yeah. So that's too
there
bad.
is lots of tech, like on Ethereum, they have Tornado Cash, which uses ZK snarks to hide transactions. So like we could, if we implemented ZK snark in intrinsic on
ZK
EOS,
rollup, or what's the name? ZK rollup.
ZK rollup uses ZK snarks to secure, you know, a side chain basically. But Tornado Cash, it uses ZK snarks to hide transactions, so you can send coins into Tornado Cash and send them out to a different account, and you can't connect the in and the out. So that's nice. That's a nice on-chain privacy solution that they have, that we could build something like that.
So Ethereum has a nice
fun.
concept in it. Ethereum has not bad concept indeed. They have a lot of things that are running, and that's the problem, is more the transaction speed, but
yeah, it's slow and expensive.
Voilà,
but it works.
I was reading that the music solution on EOS, what is the name already?
Emanate.
Emanate. There was an article 2 days ago, 3 days ago, stating someone said that Emanate is moving to Ethereum, but indeed they are cross bridging with Ethereum. So they are still on the EOS mainnet, but they want also to experience Ethereum. For what? For the user base, I think, or to offer their product to some more broad, larger population. Yeah. So if you have a startup today, you want to create on EOS, you have to consider also other decentralized network. Otherwise, you are not succeeding totally currently. I say that. Stay positive. Okay, so it's 2:30 a.m. like always. Okay.
Burning the midnight oil, as they say.
Now I am a bee. I am no more a Batman. Okay.
Okay.
And
well,
Chris, you are a good worker. Yeah, you are a hard worker.
try to get shit done. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was working on the website today for EOS Proxy.
We will shock them with our results, and we will be silent.
That's right. So let's see. This is my tagline for one of the lines in the proxy. What did I put? Getting things done. I said established by the EOS community for the EOS community. Eden on EOS. Getting things done.
I have found the motto for the EOS bees.
I like
We
it.
are the bees, and we will inject the best nectar into your mindset.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
Injecting nectar into your mind.
Into
Sounds
your
kinda-
mindset,
sounds-
a
sounds
kind
kinda
of inception,
sexual, Patrick.
a kind
I
of
don't
inception. Yeah, yeah,
That's kind of kinky.
yeah, a little. Yeah, I admit. Okay, nice. Okay,
All
how
right,
many
guys.
hours already into that? 2 hours already now.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut her down unless you guys want to keep going. I can leave it up.
Okay.
All right, I'm out too. See ya.
So,
Okay.
John,
Good
nice
chat,
to have
everyone.
you again, and see you
It got
soon.
dark for Eddie as well.
See you
Also burning
soon,
the midnight
John.
oil. Okay. Yeah. Thanks,
And Eddie,
Patrick.
Eddie,
Thanks, everybody.
Eddie. That's your real name? No, it's not your real.
Eddie.
Eddie, yeah.
It's just Eddie.
Eddie, yeah. Nice to meet you.
Eddie.
Nice
Just
to
He
a
meet
just
you.
name,
probably
right?
consumes cannabis.
We become a family. Okay. See you guys. I have to go into the bed. Otherwise, the government will call me. Okay, so
Don't do that. Okay.
Okay,
Later, fellas.
bye.
Bye. Shut her down.